Dr. Elena Reyes stepped off the shuttle onto the grand observatory deck of the X-Car Empire's flagship. The deck was vast, larger than any room on Earth. The walls and floor were made of a smooth, glowing crystal that pulsed softly with every heartbeat of the ship. Elena paused for a moment to catch her breath. She had dreamed of this day for years, but nothing could prepare her for the sheer wonder of it all. The deck curved around the hull of the ship. Through panoramic windows, she could see the planet Vishara far below. It was a swirl of blue oceans and green continents dotted with white clouds. Thousands of stars stretched out in every direction beyond that, an endless sea of light. Elena swallowed hard. As a linguist and cultural envoy, she knew her task was to learn and to teach. She was here to speak for humanity. A soft chime sounded at the far end of the deck. Dozens of X-Car officials and scholars gathered there, dressed in robes of shifting color. Some walked on many legs like graceful spiders. Others hovered on faint currents of energy. All of them watched the arrival of the human envoy with polite curiosity. Elena straightened her uniform. A small implant behind her ear ticked, translating the ancient X-Car tongue into common galactic. She had practiced every phrase she might need, but nothing could prepare her for the moment when words met reality. At the center of the crowd, a platform of floating light descended slowly. It was circular, about twice Elena's height, and it glowed with a golden sheen. As it landed, the crowd fell silent. Elena felt a soft pressure in her chest and realized her heart was pounding. From the platform emerged the alien queen, Emerajul. She was taller than any human, nearly 3 meters in height, with a long, slender body covered in shimmering, iridescent skin. Her limbs moved with a grace that made Elena's own too. Legs feel clumsy. Emerajul's head was crowned with delicate tendrils that glowed like living neon. 2 great eyes, dark and deep, regarded Elena with a mixture of curiosity and kindness. There was no crown, no scepter, no heavy symbols of power. Only the simple, natural beauty of the queen herself. Elena found herself wondering what it must be like to carry the weight of an entire empire on one's shoulders. The translator in Elena's ear crackled. "Dr. Reyes, welcome to the X-Car flagship." A calm voice spoke in perfect common galactic. It was Emerajul's voice, but softer, more musical than any human had ever sounded. Her words filled the deck, carried on gentle waves of sound that never seemed to fade. Elena bowed her head slightly, recalling the human gesture of respect. She spoke a greeting in a clear, measured tone. "Your Majesty, thank you for receiving me. I am honored to represent Earth in this moment of first contact." A ripple of murmurs passed through the assembly. Elena saw some of the X-Car scholars exchange quick looks. She wondered what they thought of her words, spoken so carefully. She had studied X-Car court etiquette for months, but now she realized how little she truly understood about the feelings behind their customs. The alien queen floated down from her platform, each step guided by invisible lights. As she approached Elena, the crystal floor beneath her feet lit up with brighter patterns like a path of stars. Elena followed, her own boots making no sound. The crowd drew back, giving them space. Time seemed to slow. When they were close enough to see one another's faces clearly, Emerajul paused. Elena felt the weight of her gaze, as if the queen were peering into her thoughts. A quiet hush fell over the deck. Elena's pulse quickened. She fought the urge to fidget. Then, in perfect common galactic, Emerajul spoke. Her voice was gentle, almost shy. "Are you single, human?" Those words echoed in Elena's mind. She blinked, startled. The question felt so personal, so unexpected in this formal setting that she hardly knew how to respond. Around them, the assembled X-Car officials exchanged curious looks. Elena's translator blinked with static for a moment, then settled. The question repeated softly in her ear. Elena's cheeks warmed. She realized she was being watched by every pair of eyes on the deck. It struck her that the queen had chosen to ask this first, before any discussion of treaties or technology. In that instant, Elena felt less like a scientist and more like a person. She took a steadying breath. "Your Majesty, I am not..." Her voice caught. She gathered her courage. I am not bound to another. I am free, she finished, keeping her eyes on the queen's shimmering tendrils. A gentle smile curved the queen's mouth. The light in Emerajul's eyes deepened, glowing brighter for a moment. Elena felt a strange thrill at that glance, as if she had passed a test. She remembered all the lessons about X-Car social rituals, but she also realized that sometimes it was better to speak from the heart. The queen inclined her head. Good, she said simply. Then she motioned to a nearby crystal bench. Please sit with me, Dr. Reyes. There is much I wish to learn about you, and about your people. Elena nodded, swallowing her surprise. She took a step forward, then another, until she was beside Emerajul on the glowing bench. The crystal beneath them glowed a soft blue, and Elena could feel a gentle warmth through her clothes. She relaxed for the first time since stepping onto the deck. Behind them, the assembly leaned forward, eager to see what would happen next. But for now, Elena and the queen were alone in their own quiet moment. Two beings from different worlds, brought together by a simple question. Elena cleared her throat. I will share what I can, Your Majesty, she said. Her voice was steady now, full of quiet confidence. The translator echoed her words. Emerajul's head tendrils pulsed in a rhythmic pattern that Elena took to be pleasure or intrigue. Tell me of your life on Earth, the queen said. And so Elena began, speaking of blue skies and green forests, of simple human joys like laughter and music. As she spoke, she felt the fear and the awe melt away. In its place grew a strange sense of hope. Perhaps this first glimpse of one another would be the start of something neither human nor X-Car had ever known before. The stars shone outside the windows, bearing silent witness to that meeting. In that vast, silent cathedral of crystal, and light, Dr. Elena Reyes and Queen Emerajul sat side by side, two explorers on the edge of a new age. And it all began with one daring, unexpected question. Are you single, human? Elena followed Queen Emerajul down a long corridor of softly glowing crystal. The walls pulsed with gentle light, shifting from pale blue to lavender, as though breathing. Each step the queen took left a faint trail of sparkling motes in the air. Elena felt as if she were walking through a dream. At the end of the corridor, two ivory doors slid aside without sound. Beyond lay an ornate salon. High, arched windows looked out onto the stars. Floating lanterns of colored mist drifted near the ceiling, casting shifting patterns on the smooth floor. Soft cushions and low benches of polished crystal were arranged in a circle. It was both grand and welcoming. Emerajul gestured toward a bench. Elena seated herself, smoothing the folds of her uniform. The queen sat opposite, her long limbs folded gracefully. Elena studied Emerajul's features. Her skin shimmered like oil on water, reflecting every light in the room. Her tendrils glowed softly. Elena felt both nervous and honored. A small sphere of light appeared beside Emerajul and hovered in the air. It pulsed gently as the queen began to speak. In Sci-Fi custom, Emerajul's voice rippled through the room. We share knowledge and ritual before any alliance is formed. We call it the dance of cultures. Elena nodded. She had read about it, but never imagined how beautiful it would feel. Elena activated her translator implant and replied with a polite bow. On Earth, we often share our stories and our food to learn about one another. We call it a welcoming feast. She hesitated, then added, I can tell you about our rituals if you wish. Emerajul's tendrils flickered in appreciation. Yes, the queen said. Tell me of your rituals and rites of union. Elena drew a slow breath. She pictured the many human traditions she knew. Weddings under arches of flowers, dances around bonfires, the simple act of holding hands. She chose the simplest first. On Earth, Elena began, many people meet through words and music. They sing songs or read poems to one another. In some places, a person gives a gift, like a flower or a piece of art, to show their feelings. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a single small paper folding. An origami crane. This was a gift of peace and hope. Emerajul's eyes brightened as Elena held up the crane. With a gentle motion, the queen's sphere of light expanded and enveloped the origami. The paper glowed, then dissolved into motes of light that swirled around them. Elena felt a soft warmth at her fingertips. She realized the queen had accepted the gesture. The X-Car rite of soul luminescence, Emerajul explained, is our deepest sharing. Two souls project their memories and emotions as light patterns. The exchange binds two beings in trust and understanding. Elena listened closely. She remembered reading that this rite was reserved for the strongest bonds in X-Car history. Elena felt her heart beat faster. She had come to study the X-Car, not to join their deepest rituals. Yet the queen's calm gaze held no deceit, only invitation. Elena weighed her fears, the vulnerability of sharing her most private memories, the possibility of misunderstanding. But she also felt trust. Emerajul had shown her kindness every moment she had known her. To share soul luminescence, Emerajul continued softly, one must be free of bond, single in spirit. That you told me you are free warms my soul. Will you join me in this rite, Dr. Reyes? Elena's breath caught. The queen's voice was neither demanding nor pleading, only hopeful. She looked into those deep eyes and felt a bridge form between them. Elena raised her chin and met Emerajul's gaze. She closed her eyes for a moment, recalling moonlit nights on Earth, laughter with friends, the comfort of family. She recalled her first day at the academy, when she realized she wanted to bring worlds together through words. Then she remembered why she had accepted this mission, to prove that humans could form true bonds beyond politics and power. She opened her eyes. Yes, Your Majesty, Elena said clearly. I will share soul luminescence with you. The room seemed to hold its breath. The lanterns dimmed until only a single shaft of starlight from the window lit their faces. Emerajul reached out a slender hand. Elena placed her own hand in the queen's. The skin felt cool, almost silky. A gentle pulse of light passed between them. The hovering sphere grew brighter and shifted color from gold to pale green. Elena felt a warmth spread through her chest. The queen's other appendages curled into looping shapes as if weaving a tapestry in the air. Elena closed her eyes again, allowing the translator to rest and letting her mind focus on memory. She pictured her childhood home, a small house on a quiet street in Earth's countryside where fireflies danced in summer dusk. She saw herself as a little girl chasing those lights, laughing with pure joy. At the same time, Emerajul projected her own memory. The moment she first opened her eyes in the palace of her ancestors, newborn beneath twin suns. Elena felt the soft rush of alien air, tasted sweet warmth, and sensed a deep loneliness. She realized that the queen, like any child, had felt the weight of expectations from the moment she was born. Inside Elena's mind, the two memories wove together. She felt Earth's summer breeze blend with twin suns' warmth. Her laughter became the queen's wonder. The sphere of light expanded until it filled the room with a gentle aurora. Colors rippled in waves, reflecting on the crystal walls and floor. Time lost meaning as they shared. Elena felt tears on her cheeks, tears of gratitude and connection. She knew the queen felt them too, though the X-Car did not shed tears. When the light finally faded, the room returned to normal brightness. Elena opened her eyes, feeling lighter than she could ever remember. Emerajul released Elena's hand and smiled, a serene, radiant expression. You have given me a precious gift, she said. I feel your heart, your hopes and your joy. I shall carry them with me always. Elena nodded, her own lips curved in a gentle smile. And I feel your memory, Your Majesty. I will carry it with me too. Behind them, the floating lanterns brightened once more. The assembled scholars and officials began to clap softly, a gentle applause that echoed around the salon. Elena stood, feeling both proud and humbled. She had crossed a boundary deeper than any political treaty. She had touched the soul of another species. Emerajul rose as well and offered her arm in a gesture of partnership. Elena took it, and together they walked back toward the doors of the Grand Observatory. Outside, the stars awaited them, silent witnesses to a dance of cultures that reached across the galaxy. And as they stepped into the wider world of the XCAR flagship, Elena knew that nothing would ever be the same again, for humanity, for the XCAR, and for the bond they had begun to weave in light. The soft glow of dawn swept through the crystal corridors of the XCAR flagship, but to Dr. Elena Reyes, it felt like the first sunrise on a new world. She awoke in her quarters to the gentle hum of the ship's life systems. The memory of the soul luminescence rite with Queen Emerajul still shone in her mind like the afterimage of a bright star. Elena dressed quickly and made her way to the Grand Observatory deck. She wondered if the Queen would keep her promise to share more of her culture. When she arrived, Emerajul stood at the edge of the observation window, watching the planet Vashara drift below them. The twin suns had not yet risen. "Good morning, Dr. Reyes," Emerajul said, her voice soft as moonlight. She gestured to a low bench. "Will you join me?" Elena sat beside her, the crystal floor warm beneath her boots. Outside, Vashara's horizon blushed with pale yellow. Inside, the deck glowed with silver light. For a moment, they watched the slow birth of dawn together. Emerajul spoke first. "Last night I felt the light of your memories in my heart. It was comforting." She paused. "I want to show you something important." Intrigued, Elena followed the Queen to a side chamber. Its entrance was framed by shifting patterns of bioluminescent vines that curled and twisted like living art. Inside was a circular room lined with tall, transparent panels. Beyond them lay a series of terraced gardens, each filled with flowering plants that Elena had never seen before. "These are XCAR memory gardens," the Queen explained. "Each plant holds the echo of a moment in our history. Their blooms unfold when someone recalls a memory tied to them." Elena stepped closer to a cluster of violet blossoms. She remembered the face of her grandmother, singing to her as a child. The moment surfaced, a soft chord of melody. The violet petals trembled, then opened wider, releasing a faint glow. Elena smiled, touched by the living tribute. Beside her, Emerajul watched quietly. "These gardens teach my people to respect memory," she said. "They remind us that our past guides our future." Elena nodded. "On Earth, we have plants that carry stories too," she said. "In some lands, we plant trees for children, at birth. We call them memory oaks. When the wind blows through their leaves, it sounds like laughter and tears of joy." The Queen's tendrils pulsed with interest. "I would see these oaks someday." Elena felt a flush of pride. "Perhaps one day I can show them to you." They walked among the terraces, the Queen's hand brushing the petals as Elena explained Earth's rituals. They spoke of spring festivals, of dancing in flower petals, of songs that called the rain. Elena told of harvest feasts and warm fires, of stories told under starlit skies. Emerajul shared stories of her ancestors' journeys across the galaxy, of trials overcome by unity and trust. Their voices blended, carrying stories back and forth like gifts. Elena felt a deep joy in teaching and learning. She realized that the soul luminescence rite had done more than share memory. It had built a bridge between their souls. When they returned to the observatory deck, a small crowd of XCAR scholars and human envoys waited. Whispers rippled through the assembly. "The Queen shares her jewels. She walks with the human. This is unprecedented." Elena felt a tug of nerves, but Emerajul raised a hand. "These gardens are the soul of the XCAR," the Queen announced. "Dr. Reyes has seen our memory blooms. In turn, I have seen the light of her world. Today we open these gifts to all." Polished crystal panels slid aside, revealing a gallery lined with small memory gardens on display. Human envoys gasped as they saw plants bloom at Elena's gentle touch. XCAR scholars bowed, their many-legged forms kneeling in respect. Elena stepped forward. On Earth, we say that sharing memory is sharing life, she said, her voice steady. May these gardens teach us to care for each other's stories and to build our future together. A ripple of applause echoed through the deck. Elena felt her chest swell with hope. She had spoken for humanity not with treaties or technology, but with the simple truth of memory and empathy. Later, Elena returned to her quarters to send a report to Earth. She paused as she began typing. The words felt too dry for the emotions she carried. Instead, she closed her eyes and pictured the gardens, the Queen's gentle smile, and the dawn of Vashara. Then she wrote, "Today we learned that memory is a language older than words." Meanwhile, rumors spread through the XCAR flagship and across distant star systems. Holoprints of Elena and Emerajul walking together went viral among interstellar communities. Some hailed it as a miracle. Others whispered concerns. What would traditionalists say? Yet many voices on both sides spoke of hope. 2 days. Later, Elena was summoned to the council hall. She entered to find the great circular chamber filled with XCAR elders in robes of deep emerald. Their skin glowed faintly with age, and their eyes held centuries of knowledge. At the center sat Emerajul, her radiant form like a living star. "Elena Reyes," the Queen said, "you have honored our customs and our trust. The Council will now consider a formal alliance." Elena bowed. "I am honored, Your Majesty, and grateful to your people for their hospitality." The eldest counselor rose, his many arms unfolding. "Dr. Reyes," he said in gravely tones, "you have shown us the light of humanity's spirit. Before we decide on an alliance, we seek one more vision." He pointed to a basin filled with liquid starlight. "Place your hand on the lumen, mirror, and show us a vision of Earth's future." Elena approached the basin. The liquid shimmered like quicksilver. She hesitated for a moment, then placed her hand on its surface. In the polished starlight, images formed. A blue planet alive with cities and forests, children of many colors playing together, humans and XCAR walking side by side in gardens, shared knowledge fields ringing the globe. Emerajul's soft voice echoed in Elena's mind. "Let all see our hope." The chamber fell silent. Then the counselors began to murmur, each voice layered over the other like a chorus. Harmony. Unity. A new era. Finally, the eldest counselor spoke again. "Let it be known. We accept this vision. We accept humanity as our ally." The chamber erupted in celebration. Elena felt tears in her eyes as she bowed to the Queen. Emerajul returned the gesture, her tendrils waving in joy. Around them, the XCAR cheered and danced. A dance without violence, without conflict, only celebration. Later that evening, Elena and Emerajul stood on the promenade that circled the observation deck. The two suns had set, and Vashara glowed like a green and blue jewel. Emerajul placed a hand on Elena's shoulder. "You have given us light beyond our gardens," she said. "You have shown that our hearts can bloom together." Elena smiled. "And you have shown me that memory gardens can teach new worlds to listen." They stood side by side, two souls from different stars, bound by light and hope. Around them, the galaxy waited, ready for the next chapter of their shared story. The halls of the XCAR flagship thrummed with renewed energy after the Council's acceptance of an alliance with humanity. Yet not everyone shared the celebratory mood. Deep in the heart of the council hall, a group of traditionalist elders gathered in whispered council. Their robes were the darkest hues of the spectrum, and their bioluminescent skin pulsed with anxiety. They feared that the Queen's bond with a human envoy threatened the very roots of Scar identity. Eldest Counselor Vashitel spoke first, his voice low and resonant. "We respect Queen Emerajul's vision," he said, "but many among us question whether this union will weaken our customs. Dr. Reyes has learned our rights, yet she remains an outsider to our ancestral ways." His eyes glowed faintly as he turned to another elder. "We must ensure that XCAR tradition does not fade beneath human influence." Meanwhile, news of the descent reached Dr. Elena Reyes as she walked the flagship's crystal promenade. She had expected some resistance. Change so swift could unsettle even the most open mind. Yet she felt determined to ease fears, not deepen them. Drawing on her knowledge of XCAR history and her own people's struggles with change, she prepared to address the heart of the matter, respect for tradition alongside the promise of progress. That evening, Elena was summoned back to the grand observatory deck. The chamber was arranged for a cultural exchange, but now the mood was tense. Scholars and elders filled the benches in wide semicircles. At the center stood a polished crystal podium, and behind it, Queen Emerajul, radiant yet solemn. Elena's translator implant hummed softly as she approached. The Queen's voice rang clear, carrying both warmth and steel. My council and I have heard concerns about our growing bond with humanity. We stand at a crossroads between our past and our future. Tonight, Dr. Reyes will share words of her people. Let poetry be our guide, that we may feel the truth beyond mere argument. With a graceful motion, Emerajul lowered her head in invitation. Elena bowed and stepped to the podium. She held a slim datapad containing translations of ancient human poems, texts that had helped bridge cultures on Earth for centuries. She chose one by a poet named Maya Angelou, whose words spoke of hope, resilience, and unity. Taking a breath, she began to read in slow, deliberate tones. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. Her voice carried across the hall. She paused, letting the simple truth sink in. Then she continued. Under every skin, a beating heart. Beneath every voice, a song of longing. As the translator conveyed her words in soft pulses of XCAR syllables, Elena watched the elders' expressions shift. Some frowned, but others leaned forward, as if drawn by a hidden current of feeling. When she finished, Elena spoke plainly. On Earth, these words helped heal wounds between peoples who thought themselves enemies. Poetry taught them that beneath different customs lay the same hopes: to love, to belong, to be remembered. Today, I offer this poem not as proof of alliance, but as a mirror for each of us. See your own longing in its lines and know that our bond need not erase your past, but can honor it. A hush fell over the hall. Then, eldest counselor Vashitel rose, his many limbs folding into a thoughtful posture. His glow dimmed as he spoke. Your words carry weight, human. Poetry is new to my ears in this context, but I feel its truth. Our fears and hopes live in every heart. XCAR or human. He turned to his peers. Let us not judge by origin, but by promise. One by one, other elders stood to give their verdict. Some voiced caution, asking for safeguards to protect sacred rights. Others declared that the alliance would bring knowledge and unity long dreamt of by the ancients. As each spoke, Elena and Emerajul listened respectfully, never interrupting, absorbing both praise and critique. Finally, the Queen raised her hand, calling for the vote. The crystal desks before each counselor glowed, ready to record their choice. One by one, they tapped for agree or disagree. The lights blinked in silent tally. Elena's heart beat fast. She stood beside Emerajul, feeling the weight of every pulse of light around her. Moments later, the head scribe announced the result. By a narrow margin, the vote favored the alliance and reaffirmed the Queen's right to deepen ties with humanity, provided that XCAR customs would continue to be honored and taught to every human envoy. A ripple of relief and joy swept through the hall. Some elders bowed in respect to Elena. Others embraced one another in silent celebration. Emerajul turned to Elena, her eyes shining brighter than the hall's crystal. Lights. You have helped my people see that tradition need not be a cage but a foundation, she said softly. Together we will build an alliance that lifts both our worlds. Elena smiled, her throat warm with pride and emotion. As the assembly dispersed, Elena found herself surrounded by both XCAR scholars and human envoys. Questions poured, in request to teach them more poetry, to translate Earth stories into Scar song, to learn the melodies of human laughter. Elena laughed openly, feeling the joy of shared purpose. Later, in the quiet of the Queen's private chambers, Emeraude folded her tendrils in satisfaction. "Tonight you did more than mediate," she said. "You wove our hearts together with words." Elena reached out and placed her hand gently on the Queen's lithe arm. "I only spoke what many feel," Elena replied. "When you asked me to speak through poetry, I realized that art opens doors where reason cannot. It touches the soul." Emeraude inclined her head. "Let us continue this dance of cultures. There is much art to share, and many stories yet to unfold." Elena looked out the window at the swirling continents of Vishara. In that moment, she knew the ripples of diplomacy, of poetry and patience, would carry far across the galaxy. The alliance was no longer just a treaty. It was a living tapestry of voices, memories, and hopes, woven by two very different peoples who chose to listen to one another. And that, she thought, was the greatest victory of all. Morning light filtered through the towering crystal windows of the XCAR flagship's grand observatory. Dr. Elena Reyes watched as Vishara's blue oceans and green continents came into view again. She had spent countless hours studying the planet's surface, but today felt different. Today she was not just a visitor. She was part of a new chapter in galactic history. Elena dressed quickly in her uniform, its deep blue trim matching the color of Earth's oceans. She paused at the entrance to the observatory deck, taking a steadying breath. Queen Emeraude awaited her there, radiant in her flowing robes that changed color with her mood. As Elena approached, the Queen's tendrils pulsed in a welcoming pattern. "Good morning, Dr. Reyes," Emeraude said, her voice warm and musical. "Today we open the trade hall and the cultural exchange pavilion. Will you stand with me as we celebrate?" Elena smiled. "Of course, Your Majesty." She fell into step beside the Queen as they walked across the deck. The assembled crowd of XCAR officials, human envoys, and invited observers turned to greet them with applause. Banners bearing the symbols of both empires hung from the crystal rails, fluttering in a gentle gravity field. Their first stop was the trade hall. Through wide arches, Elena saw stalls where XCAR artisans displayed woven light sculptures, and human traders presented fine textiles and books of earth art. A gentle hum of conversation filled the air, as beings from both worlds greeted one another in English, common galactic, and the melodic XCAR tongue. Elena helped a human merchant translate the description of a hand-carved star globe to a group of XCAR dignitaries. Smiles and nods passed freely between them, a living proof that language could unite minds. Next, they moved to the cultural exchange pavilion. Here, human dancers performed a simple folk dance, petals of synthetic blossoms drifting around their feet. XCAR musicians responded with soft chimes of their wind instruments, creating an otherworldly duet. Emeraude took Elena's hand, an intimate gesture that still made Elena's pulse quicken, and guided her to the center of the pavilion. "Would you honor my people with an earth dance?" the Queen asked, her voice playful. Elena hesitated, then nodded. The dancers stepped aside to clear a space. Elena and Emeraude began with a simple step, one forward, one back, side to side. At first, Elena felt awkward in the Queen's graceful rhythm, but soon she found her footing. The two moved together, human and XCAR, weaving through petals and light. Around them, the crowd watched in hushed delight. As the dance ended, the petals settled on the crystal floor like gentle snow. Elena and Emeraude bowed to one another, laughter in their eyes. The applause rose again, louder than before. Elena felt an overwhelming sense of joy. She glanced at the Queen, who pressed her hand with quiet affection. After the ceremonies, Elena and Emeraude retreated to a quiet balcony overlooking the ship's outer hull. Below them, the stars stretched into the infinite darkness. A soft breeze generated by the ship's life support drifted through the open vents. "I never imagined our first alliance celebration would feel so personal," Elena said, leaning on the crystal railing. Emeraude nodded. I, too, have wondered if we moved too quickly. Yet today I see our people share laughter and dance. I see hope in their eyes." She paused, then added softly, "Elena, I wish to ask you something beyond diplomacy." Elena turned to face the queen, heart fluttering. Emerajul's tendrils formed a gentle loop, the X-Car sign of trust. "Are you ready to make your home here among the X-Car? Not only as envoy, but as companion?" Elena's breath caught. She remembered the first time the queen asked if she was single, and how that simple question had bloomed into something beautiful. Now that question had grown into an invitation to build a life together. She thought of Earth's bright skies and of Vashara's glowing gardens. She thought of the future they could share. With a steady voice, Elena replied, "Yes, Your Majesty, I will stay if you will have me." Emerajul's eyes shone with luminescent joy. She extended her hand and Elena took it. In that moment, time seemed to pause across the galaxy. Two souls from distant worlds chose to walk a shared path. Later, as the ship's intercom announced the opening of the communication channel to Earth, Elena took her place again at the podium, this time with Emerajul's glowing hand resting lightly on her shoulder. Together, they addressed the people of Earth and the X-Car Empire. Elena spoke first in clear, heartfelt words. "Citizens of Earth, citizens of the X-Car Empire, today we stand united not only by treaties but by trust and understanding. We have learned from one another, we have danced together, and we have shared our deepest memories in light. Let this alliance be a symbol of hope for all who look to the stars." Emerajul continued in common galactic, her voice carrying across light years of space. "Let our two peoples grow together in friendship. Let our children learn both your songs and ours. Let every new sunrise bring us closer in heart." As they finished, messages of congratulations poured in from both worlds. Elena watched the glowing holograms of Earth's leaders and the X-Car counselors sending their blessings. She felt a gentle squeeze from Emerajul's hand. That evening, Elena and the Queen walked the ship's promenade in silence, listening to the soft hum of the engines and the distant calls of X-Car nightbirds in the memory gardens. They arrived at a quiet alcove filled with living vines that glowed softly in the dark. Emerajul turned to Elena. "We have begun a new era," she said simply. Elena reached out and touched one of the vines. "An era of partnership, of learning, and of love," she added. The Queen smiled, and in that smile Elena saw the promise of many tomorrows. Together they stood under the canopy of living light, two hearts beating in harmony between the stars.